For me, I really feel that what we do in our law firm, if I stop doing what I do, we will miss a chance of actually protecting people from torture or seeking justice. That makes me actually proud every day, and that's what motivates me a lot. The reason why I became specialist in human rights field was basically because in 2021, when the crisis on Belarus border started, I started observing people suffering on the border, people being left alone in terrible conditions, almost dying because of the freeze, of the lack of food and water. After our organization was established, I started to work in the law firm as well, because for me, it seemed at the very first place illegal. I could not justify the torture that was ongoing at the border. The biggest challenge in Lithuania is our geopolitical context, the context in which we are as a country. We have a war very near to us happening in Ukraine, since our history, unfortunately, is as a history of occupation for many years. For us, Russia is a threat that can justify a lot of human rights violations in the point of view of the society. So human rights activists and human rights lawyers are often presented and showed as an opposition to the national security. The other challenge is that none of these international organizations are established in Lithuania. So the thing is that our civic space is very weak, and unfortunately, we do see that it contributes to impunity. I mean, when the civic space is weak, when the access to the places where people are detained and tortured is not open for the public, for civic society, it becomes very hard to actually detect every possible act of torture or violation of human rights. Lithuania is super small and we were occupied. So for us, the argument of national security is winning really much. Torture can happen in Lithuania in these places that are closed from public eye, that are gray zones, meaning the detention centers, the jails, prisons, and also psychiatric hospitals, mental health institutions. And since 2021, obviously the border area, which I believe is the most dangerous one right now. The people who come to Lithuania in high numbers are people from Ukraine and people from Belarus. And we are the neighboring country where these people stay. Lithuania, I believe, has major role in seeking universal jurisdiction because the mass of people that are here is quite huge and they have to know how to do it. Speaking about perpetrators, we have our local ones in these private spaces, in the spaces that are not open for public eye. We lack watchdogs here, definitely. We lack the competence of the institutions that control basically the forces like the police or state border guard service. The organization, the NGO that I started to work with in 2021. At first, it was grassroots movement. The organization was not even registered. It was people gathering under the name of Sienos Grupė, of the border group, and basically going to the forest to provide humanitarian assistance. We also started to participate in the lawmaking, which is really important, just to sit around the table with decision makers. At least you show that they are being watched. When it comes to human rights violations in Lithuania, we are the ones that are challenging the acts of the government usually. I would say the thing that I'm proud about is the recent group claim we had. We made it together with Amnesty International. We represent 25 applicants who were detained arbitrarily, and this detention was confirmed by our constitutional court as illegal, as arbitrary. But then at the same time, we had the politicians who initiated this detention saying that they would breach the law again and that it was completely necessary to do because of the national security. And we managed to submit a group claim. Also, apart from this group claim, we have 4 families that were detained with their children, and the children experienced violence in the camps. So all these cases are still open, but I really do believe that they're gonna be successful one. If not here in Lithuania, then obviously in the European Court of Human Rights. Also, I think there are 2 very important cases when it comes to border violence. 2 of them addresses the direct violence and torture for people who lost their limbs. So they were left alone in the forest, being frozen, beaten to the level that both of their legs had to be amputated at the end. One of the person was a Sri Lankan citizen and he did not speak English. The story how we managed to open the case was really challenging for us. We had to find this person in the hospital. We heard the rumors from other organizations that there is a person in the hospital treated. So we managed to finance the case and we managed to go through all the criminal procedure in Lithuania, meaning to the exhaustion of local remedies. And now the case is pending at European Court of Human Rights. You know, the civic rights activists, human rights activists, they were always repeating that green border, that the zone in the forest is a place where human rights violations might happen, where torture might happen, and where violence might happen. And for a long time, we were hearing the testimonies from the people, but we never saw something that would cause shock for the society. So I really do believe that if not us, this person would be hidden and let go to the France, so the government could forget what happened. I think in the situations where you need to seek justice for several years, the active communication is also what counts and what matters. So I do believe that these cases changes the public discourse, and also related with civic space and with our NGO, we actually saved a life for a Syrian national by calling the ambulance, and he was really almost dying. But then we got the fines for doing it, for being in the border area, and it had really a chilling effect on our organization because the fine was not huge. It's not the matter of money, but how the government communicated it. We were shown as some kind of contributors to Belarusian regime. So, the image of us was completely destroyed in a public media. It made a huge damage, and that's why we decided to appeal these fines. The fines were cancelled at the end, which was already a victory, but we still have a notification for breaching the rules of visiting the border area. And this particular notification restricted our volunteers to go into the border for 1 year, because in order to be there, you need to ask for permission. So in order to make it more public and just to make it clear for public that it was legal and it was done out of necessity to save one's life, we also appealed this decision to European Court of Human Rights. So the case is pending, and we do believe that in the near future we will have a lot of work to do in representing both our victims and our civic society in European Court of Human Rights. The most challenging thing here now in Lithuania is the situation with Belarus. Lithuania was the country that was actively actually inviting people from Belarus fleeing violence to move here and find safety here. Now, the situation changes and Lithuania sees Belarus as part of Russia, or at least as a country that cooperates with Russia. So many people who came here under humanitarian visa, under humanitarian circumstances, who later found job or made family here, now are being declared a threat to national security. As with the border, it's the same thing here. Like if you start seeking justice for these people, you're already being blamed for spreading Belarus propaganda. And another challenge, I think, is obviously everything that is related to universal jurisdiction when it comes to war in Ukraine. Our legal professionals lack competence and practice in that field. So obviously the help from international community is essential. And I think Lithuania is one of the countries that should take leadership in seeking justice and trying to stop the impunity of the aggressor. This geopolitical context is something that actually creates an opportunity for Lithuania to perform in this field and to play a major role, but at the same time, it challenges the moral grounds and our responsibility towards international law as a country. I see everything what I do as a system, and I think justice is a system. Every small thing you do at the end contributes to that particular system. So I could mention, the proudest moment when people you meet, they start to believe that they can seek for justice. To me personally, I feel proud every time when I feel that I gain the trust of a person that reached out to me. Honestly, every day I feel proud knowing that there is a watchdog, there is legal help in Lithuania, and also kind of sadly feeling that if I stop doing what I do, we will not be having the same quality of help for these people in Lithuania.